Good evening. I'm going to try to solve this quick LeetCode problem of data structures and algorithms. I grabbed it from LeetCode Top Interview 150 Questions. It's the first one, merged sort array, and I'm going to try to solve it in Python. I'm not very familiar with Python. I'm trying to improve, so I apologize in advance for anything unprofessional that I do here or that is not very optimal. Right, so I like to start with reading the definition, the description, and it says we have two arrays, nums1 and nums2, sorted in non-decreasing order, like this. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 5, 6, like in ascending order. I suppose that if we had repeated values, they would just show up next to each other. Okay, cool. And then we have two integers, m and n, which represent the number of elements in each of the lists. So right, it says here the first list contains 6 elements, but the indicator says it should only account for 3. Like it should ignore any other element after 3. We'll see. Merge numbers 1 and nums2 into a single array sorted in non-decreasing order. So merge them in a sorted manner. Final sorted array should not be returned by the function, but instead stored inside the array nums1. So we need to override nums1 at the end to give the answer, to give the solution. And to accommodate this, nums1 has a length of n plus n. Oh, this is why. This is why we have the zeros, where the first m elements know the element that should be merged and the last n elements are set to 0 and should be ignored. Nums2 has a length of n. All right, so let's start by creating a new array, which is just where we will be storing the final array, where we will be merging the two lists into. And then doing a little bit of pseudocode, I think we first need to traverse the lists, for which we're going to need indexes. So let's first initialize these two indexes starting at 0. And then to navigate, I think we should use an index, a while loop. So while the index of the first list is less than the amount of elements in the first list, and the same thing for the second list. So using the second index is less than n, then we can start looking at the values inside. So the way that we access the values is like this. This would be grabbing the first element that we're going to compare, which would be a. This is how we grab it, and then you need to do the same for the second one. So once we have these two, I think I'm going to use a conditional. So if the first element is less than the second one, I would grab the first one and store it inside solutions using the append method because it's an array, right? So, and after we've done that, we just need to update our index to move forward one space. And in the other case, we would do kind of the same, just with the second, with the element, the second element from list 2. So we're adding the second element to solution and updating the second index. Right, so that's it. And then probably when we reach the end of the list, we would have to, let's say what happens if there are remaining elements in the first list, in the first one, and also in the second one. Those are two different scenarios. And for that, I think we should also use just a simple while loop. So while the index 1 is less than m, it's important to mention that the index is not going to reset when we enter this next while loop. So over here, if we reach the third element and then it finished, then it would still be 2. That's like a continuation of the previous while loop. And we would append to solution. We would do the same as what we did up here. Just append it and add it. I said the same thing twice. We just append it into solution. And something kind of similar would be done for this. Just instead of using the index 1, we would use index 2. Right. That's done. And at this point, solution should look exactly like what we want it to be. We just need to put solution into nums1 because it's what has been requested over here. Like not just return solution, but instead put solution into nums1. And for that, we can use a for loop. So let's say for each of the elements inside the array, we're just going to keep using indexes. This is a different way using a for loop. So for the range of m plus n, we're going to grab nums1 in the position of I, which is in the iterator, and we're going to assign the value that is stored in that same position from solution. All right, let's give this a run. Oh, this is a problem. We were using the different amount of elements. In this case, it's probably because n, the second array was smaller than the first one. All right, so once we update that, I just want to type in here what this was for. This is just to formatting the response as requested. Let's give it a run. And there we go. So let's walk through this, how this would work. It would compare 1 versus 2. It looks at 1 as the smaller number, so it puts it in first. Then would compare 2 versus 2. It would put the 2 from the second element in, and then would compare 2 versus 5, 2 again, then 3 versus 5, then we have 3, then 5 versus 0, so 5. Actually, once it reaches this point, it's going to jump into the second while loop that we have over here, because this condition, the first one of index 1, which would have reached 3, which breaks this condition, so it breaks us out of the while loop, and it puts us into this first one. We already iterated through the entire first array, so it breaks us out of this while as well. And we'll just add the remaining elements from the second list, which are 5 and 6 at the end. And this is what we have. Cool, right? So signing out. That's it for today. Hope to see you soon. See you in the next one.